Well, today's reading has Jesus in the temple during the Festival of Tabernacles. That feast was a celebration of the final harvest of the year and God's provision for his people. You could say it was the Jewish precursor of our harvest festival. During it, the Israelites were required to leave the comfort of their homes and live in tabernacles, booths, tents. In this way, they would remember how their ancestors had lived in tents when they were freed from slavery and came out of Egypt. The feast was celebrated with great joy. The joy was twofold, commemorating God's past goodness and provision during their wilderness sojourn, and his present goodness and the provision of the completion of the harvest. The festival climaxed with worship in the temple. In its modern day celebration, I've actually seen tents in the streets of the middle of New York outside tenement buildings. Jesus as the light of the world is one of the well-known sayings which hints at Jesus' divine nature. Yet its position here is a little puzzling. Most of the dialogue around here consists of Jesus arguing with his opponents about the validity of his claim. And the interjection of the light of the world is not followed up. It seems a bit disconnected. In fact, later on in the Gospel, Jesus is at the Feast of the Dedication, which is alternatively known as the Festival of Lights. And there's no mention of his being the light of the world there. What's going on? Well, perhaps what's happening is that during the Festival of Tabernacles, the court of the women in the temple was decorated with so many lights that it said it could light up the whole of Jerusalem. When Jesus was speaking, he could have been saying, "Look, forget these academic arguments. Don't I give out a light stronger than all that? Can't you see? What more do you need to be convinced?" Well, we've seen what Jesus has accomplished. Do we need any more to be convinced? He can shine light on our situation, whatever that may be. Of course, his light is not just for us. We, in our turn, should light the path for others. This little light of mine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Light as guidance is a familiar theme. The story is told of a warship that was skirting an unfamiliar coast at the dead of night. And suddenly it saw a light that looked it was on a collision course. So it sent out a message, "Change course." Back came the reply, "No, you change course." So he responded, "I am a naval destroyer, you change course." Back came the reply, "No, you change course, I'm a lighthouse." Jesus' contemporaries were too firmly wedded to their view of what a Messiah should look like. They refused to change course. The subsequent rebellions against Rome lay the foundation of their centuries-long wanderings when they were metaphorically back in tents again. But before we piously look down on their getting it wrong, let's examine ourselves to see if we've ignored the leading of Christ's light. It's so easy, isn't it, when we're on a roll, to press ahead, straining every fibre, so convinced of our mission, we forget to keep checking back that we're heading in the direction Jesus has in mind for us. Failure to do so runs the risk that we end up on the rocks. The presentation of the gospel, with its emphasis on sin, can sometimes come over as a bit cold. But remember that where there's light, there is often warmth. I don't know if that was in Jesus' mind when he said that, but isn't he the answer for the plea, bring me sunshine? John records Jesus saying, I am, several times in the Gospel. This is reckoned to be a reference to the sacred name of God, which in some forms is literally I and he, a symbol of the intertwining of God and his messenger. When we accept his message, when we accept his offer, we have the same possibility of interdependence and can both benefit from and give out the divine warmth and light. Of course, there'll be times when the light seems to refuse to clarify the pickle we're in. I guess Jesus' contemporaries knew all about being perplexed about their national situation. But of course, the first step is always, in the words of the old chorus, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Last week, Tim reminded us that we should pray for the society we live in. And not just pray. Our harvest celebrations remind us that God has given us much. And I don't just mean economic benefits. So we should thank the Lord for all his love by sharing it around. When I read about the lights in the temple, I toyed with the idea that perhaps this morning you should all have candles like at the carol service. But I chickened out. But I like to think by our life together here, we can help Jesus light up the whole of Bishop's Cleeve and Woodmancote. We've so much to be thankful for. Let's spread it around.